Do you recognize these songs? Well, if you're familiar with anime, the name Roundtable featuring Nino should ring a bell. And if it doesn't, I'll be glad to introduce you to a band that I really wouldn't call shibuya-kei, and I'll tell you why later in this video, and how they teamed up with a vocal talent, cementing their name in the anime music scene. But before Nino came along, Roundtable were in a totally different lane. Roundtable came to be in 1993 when Katagawa Katsutoshi met Ito in a university study group focused on jazz, soul, and guitar pop. The two named themselves Roundtable and released their very first project, or what they would call a mini album, being World's End in the same year. Kitagawa recalls the memories of making this album, saying, "I recorded most of these parts except for the drums in my room. At that time I only had a cassette MTR, so I borrowed the digital MTR for this recording, but I couldn't figure out how to use it at all and I wanted to cry." World's End would be the blueprints for their future projects, with Kitagawa saying, "At first it was planned to have about 4 songs, but as I made the opening and ending, it ended up in this form. And with the CD completed, I decided to release more and more round style CDs, where the opening and ending are connected and the total time is short." To be honest, for their very first project, this mini album was very high quality, being a tender indie jazz record with many quirks and playful moments that the band would then capitalize on their overall aesthetic and sound in their coming projects.
Hey, listen!
They would later release a number of mini albums, 8 of them to be exact, with another mini series within those albums being the Big Wave series, which all had this super cool summer feeling to it, mixing jazz fusion, Brazilian samba, and any other summer-esque genres you could think of. From the very beginning, Roundtable wanted to be more than just your regular band. Just from those mini albums alone, you can tell they really tried tackling in an insane range of music styles, genres, and concepts. With Big Wave Sunset being the last of this series, and also releasing a Big Wave in Korea, which is a version exclusive to Korea with an added 4 tracks. They then finally released their first major album, being Domino, which was a full-length album having many guests help to bring this album into high production. A really cool fact about this album was the number of shibuya-kei all-stars that helped make this album come to life, with help on the guitars from the cymbals Reggie Oki, drums done by Nino, as well as these playful shouts from the track Cool Club done by the members of none other than Adventures Lucy. Ito even recalls the day when the band's cover artist, named Maddie, drew the cover art near the Eiffel Tower. It was strange that everyone was passing by looked at the portrait while he was drawing it. I was curious and tried to look at it, but he wouldn't let me see it. I was surprised when it was finished because it was completely different from the clothes I wore that day. Now, Cannonball was their second album, consisting of a heavier rock sound taking inspiration from Jimi Hendrix, with songs such as Mr. Cannonballer Strikes Back and So Many Colors. This is what I was talking about when I mentioned that Roundtable were more than just a shibuya-kei band and clearly wanted to be more than that. Radio Burning being their third album released in 2001 and is personally my favorite Roundtable album from this era. What makes this album so fun to listen to is its portrayal of American radio shows with these gags and cutaways throughout that remind me of something I'd find in a Symbols album.
You want the hamburger, right? No. I 50. 50? You sure you want to eat that?
Now, while making this video, I was able to check out the band's blog that they had during their active years, finding some gems while also possibly hinting as to why they had gone on hiatus, something we'll look at later on in this video. In 2002, Roundtable had invited a long-term friend of the band, Nino, who had collaborated with them on and off, finally joined the band in parallel, releasing music under Roundtable featuring Nino. This trio would become a hit with their very first single, Let Me Be With You, a track made for the anime Chobits. What made this collaboration so special for me at least was this fusion of J-pop and elements of rock, jazz, and electronic house, and just being so refreshing in contrast to the traditional anime openings we were getting at the time. In April of 2003, Roundtable featuring Nino released their very first album, April, which is the birth month of Nino, containing many singles from animes as well as original new work. You'd be mistaken to think if this album would be full of anime-esque tunes, but actually it has a great variety of bossa nova, love ballads, and smooth soul tunes. Now let's skip a couple years to 2006, where Roundtable and Nino released their second album, Nino, which contained even more tracks from anime openings and TV appearances that they worked on. These tracks included Sunnyside Hill and Message, made for the NHK animation Uninhabited Planet Survive, Groover Magic and Stay With Me, which was made for the OP for Top 1 2, Rainbow, Just For You, and Natsumashi was made for Aria the animation, and finally, the track that introduced me to this band, Puzzle, from the anime Welcome to the NHK, which was actually the very first anime that I watched start to finish, so Roundtable featuring Nino really holds a special place in my heart. 2007 to 2009 was a bit of a changing point for the group, as the trio had released their last album, Distance. The year prior, Roundtable as a duo had released their latest album too, being Friday Night I'm in Love. After these releases, the band was quite absent in the music scene, up until 2012 when they announced that they will be on hiatus, before leaving their fans with a best of singles album. Now, many people have been wondering since, what has happened to Roundtable and Nino? From the three artists, only Kitagawa is currently active on social media, posting quite frequently and being seen working and hanging out with many other well-known Japanese bands and artists, such as the Symbols Reggie Oki, Tweedies, Nejiko, and Kana Hanazawa, and many more. A while ago though, he did share an unreleased track of Roundtable Nino called How Deep Is Your Love? Here's a short clip of that. Here's also some short clips too on Kitagawa's own music project called Borders in collaboration with Fujimura Kono. These two would also host their very own mini-series called Soundfield, where they would roam around Japan listening and discussing music. However, both Nino and Ito are completely off the grid, probably enjoying the best lives, as they should, considering that the band had been hard at work for many years, releasing multiple albums as Roundtable with and without Nino, as well as working on music for animes and touring. Ito though has only contributed to a handful of tracks as a lyricist for other artists in her own label, the last track that she worked on being in 2019. Looking through their old blog, Ito quite often mentioned how tired she was from the tours, writing a lot of music and having a lot of work in general, so it only makes sense that the band members needed a good break from it all.